on passing the United Gate by Secret slide, please. So here's the poem. I'm not going to read it for the purposes of time, but I'll highlight a couple of important lines later on in the presentation slide. So Siegfried Sassoon, he grew up as a wealthy Jewish gentleman whose primary interest was poetry, and as soon as here in World War I broke out, he joined the Royal Welsh Fusiliers, where he saw action in France in 1915, and earned the Military Cross for the actions that Zandra was saying earlier. And during this time, he was injured and brought home, and he also lost his friend, David Gotham, however you say that, like Zandra said. And so after that, he started writing letters protesting the war and kind of became a pacifist. And he actually sent these letters to the War Department, interestingly enough, and could have gotten in a lot of trouble for treason since he was still a member of the military. Slide. So the New Menin Gate is in Ypres, Belgium. And the reason that it's stationed here is this is a strategic landmark during World War I. As you can see, I have an arrow up here drawn, and that brown dotted line is the kind of front lines between the British Army and the Imperial German Army. And so the gate is stationed over the eastern gate of Ypres, which was named Porte de Menin during that time. There's a road leading to the town of Menin. You can see the black line of Ypres to Menin on that close-up where the front line was. And the reason that they put the gate here was there was thousands of British and Commonwealth troops that marched through this eastern gate on their way to do battle in the Ypres salient, so it was the most fitting place to memorialize them. The New Menin Gate was built to commemorate the 90,000 total soldiers who died in the Ypres salient during World War I. However, after they built it, only 55,000 names fit, and so the rest of the 30,000 were engraved at the Tyncott Cemetery, a short ways away. Like Zandra said, daily at 2000, the last post, kind of our rendition of taps, is a traditional bugle call that's played marking the end of the day. And it's a ceremony that takes place daily where everything stops, all the cars going through stop, and people will come and watch a ceremony where they kind of memorialize, they light up the gate and memorialize these soldiers. And so it was inaugurated on Sunday, 24th July, 1927, and when it was inaugurated, this was said. It was resolved that here at Ypres, where so many of the missing are known to have fallen, there should be erected a memorial worthy of them, which should give expression to the nation's gratitude for their sacrifice and their sympathy with those who mourn them. A memorial has been erected which, in its simple grandeur, fills this object, and now it can be said of each one in whose honor we are assembled here today, he is not missing, he is here. Slide. So now here are a couple of the important lines of this poem. Sassoon opens the poem with this: "Who will remember, passing through this gate, the unrobed dead who fed his guns?" So he starts off with kind of a sorrowful tone. Sort of the way I read it is, no one will remember these individual men and their stories. It's just 55,000 names engraved on the marble wall. There's nothing personal about it. So it's kind of like you may hear a name, get introduced to somebody, and all of a sudden, 3 seconds later, you forget their name. That's how fleeting the memory is and how shallow the memorialization is. And also, the way he starts it, this was published in 1928, and it sort of juxtaposes with the inauguration address. The address that claims that they're here and their names on the wall, but it assumes like they're not really. It's just a name on the wall that's quickly forgotten. Slide. The next important line is, "Paid are its dim defenders by this pomp, paid with a pile of peace complacent stone." And so he moves on from sorrow to sort of storm here, especially through his use of paid. When we think of payment, payment should be a reward, a good thing. But in this case, it's more of an insult to the soldiers because they gave the ultimate sacrifice, and there's no way to repay someone who gave their life. And so how the New Menin Gate stands is really more an insult to those who died, pretending that it can do justice to their sacrifice and remember them through just a name on the wall. And really, it's almost, Sassoon kind of makes, I feel like, says it'd be better to really have nothing rather than have this huge memorial that pretends. It's more of an insult to their memory than it commemorates them. Slide. And then here's the world's worst wound, and here with pride their name liveth forevermore, the gateway claims. So this is pre-World War II, so World War I was really the most devastating human-caused event in history up to that time. And the New Men in Gate claims to celebrate these men's sacrifices with pride. But how can we celebrate with pride 90,000 men who died for a war that was drug on, as Andres said, by politicians who there was really no end goal in mind there. And so it's a travesty. And almost by putting up this memorial of the politicians who do that, they almost condone the action for the future. For example, when they see this, we're memorializing these men, celebrating these men, saying like, it's okay that we send hundreds of thousands of men to their death as long as there's a cause, and we memorialize them after, when really it's not. It's an absolute travesty that all these men died. Slide. And the final line of the poem, we really see Sassoon's loathing for this gate. Well might the dead who struggled in this line rise and deride this sepulchre of crime. It's very powerful. He paints a very gruesome image of the dead rising up and tearing down this memorial that is an insult to them. And so we see for Sassoon, this memorial is really an insult, and rather than memorializing the dead, it's really a crime against them. And it celebrates a senseless sacrifice and a massive loss of life, and really almost condones the action by everybody who comes to see, oh, well, this is, all these men died bravely and things. And really, you think about it, it's just saying it's all right for 100,000 men to die in a senseless war that was drawn out, as long as we memorialize them and pretend to celebrate them. And that's what I've got. Questions?
Yes, don't clap for your friends.
Nope. So visually you're talking and the idea from the wall, one of the first things I thought of was like our like wall falling rags. Do you think it's different or do you think it's the same?
I don't exactly agree with his interpretation personally.
Well, here's the thing. So you said, so he's saying, he's not saying 90,000, a war or a cause is not worth 90,000 deaths. Sassoon is not saying that. That's what Zondo was pointing out. Some things are worth sacrifice. Memorialization, which is what you asked about, and which we point out, some things, how should we memorialize 90,000 in that spot? You said nothing.
Well, nothing would be better than a grand. This was more of a gesture.
Yeah.
Gesture. It needs to be more personal.
That's why I like to be in
people, but maybe it'd be a smaller thing that doesn't actually put the names. Something I don't know. It's interesting.
What do you think he would have liked? Because he's not saying nothing belongs there. He's saying something else, right? And what is that something else?
Something that's more personal to each and everyone.
Yeah,
maybe like in Arlington Cemetery, where you put a gravestone for every man who never came back, where we can reflect more personally on these men and their stories.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's proposing a good answer to that question. The wall in the air gardens, that's a pretty humble